and friends at home. I'd like to call the meeting of the July 7th City of El Dorado Commission meeting to order. First thing on the agenda is invocation, and people's going to be here is not here, so I'm going to give the invocation tonight. So please bow your head. Lord, be with us here tonight as we make decisions that affect every citizen in our community. Help us to remember we represent the young and the old, the rich and the poor, the healthy and the disabled. Help us listen to our fellow citizens and do our best for our community. We do appreciate the blessings you have bestowed on El Dorado. Help us work together on our challenges that are before us in the future. Help us to be fair and honest in our dealings. In God's name, amen.
Amen.
Okay, it's my honor to the El Dorado Chief of Police has been willing to come up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Chief. Okay, first thing on the agenda is a proclamation, ICMA 100-year anniversary, and we have some guests here this evening. They'd like to come forward, name and where you're from, and thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you very much. My name is Kathy Sexton. I'm city manager in Derby.
And I'm Bill Buchanan, the county manager in Sedgwick County.
Thank you very much for this proclamation. Do you want to read the proclamation? Or you want me to?
Which way you want to do it, Kathy? I don't care.
You go right ahead, sir.
Okay. Proclamation in recognition of the 100th anniversary of the International City County Management Association, which is ICMA. Whereas the year 2014 is recognized as the 100th anniversary of ICMA, the International City County Management Association, which develops and fosters professional management to build sustainable communities that improve people's lives worldwide. And whereas this milestone in ICMA history underscores the importance of the local government management profession and of cultivating the next generation of professional local government managers. Whereas the City of El Dorado is committed to serving our residents proudly, proficiently, diligently, and generously by improving and enhancing the quality of life in our community. And whereas the City of El Dorado has been fortunate to benefit from the work performed by these local government management professionals every day on behalf of our community. And whereas the City of El Dorado is the first city in Kansas to adopt the commission manager form of government and the ICMA plan. Now therefore be it resolved that the City of El Dorado hereby formally recognizes the century-long history of ICMA and its members in advocating efficiency, effective, responsive, and exemplary professional management. The performance of our current and previous professional local government managers and our commitment to creating a succession plan that ensures the continued contributions of these individuals on behalf of our community. In witness thereof, I hereto set my hand and cause the official seal of the City of El Dorado, Kansas, to be affixed this 7th day of July 2014.
Thank you very much, Mary. We are so happy that you are partaking in this celebration with us and thought that you would like to be a part of it, having been the first city in the state to adopt the form. And with her, Llewellyn, your current city manager, being a member, with Bill being a past president of ICMA and me currently being on the task force for the 100th anniversary, we thought, well, what can we do in Kansas? So we got together with a few other managers in Kansas and said, let's take it on the road. Let's visit some of our council meetings and talk about what this is all about. And obviously with El Dorado starting in 1917, you're about to experience the 100th anniversary here coming up shortly too. So we just wanted to take a minute. I know it's very confusing to a lot of people. They say, what do you do? What's the city manager do? And what's the mayor do? And sometimes people call me mayor because they just know I'm Derby. They don't know what a person's title is and what it means. So we just wanted to take the opportunity to celebrate, really, the valuable role of the elected leaders to set policy, to set priorities, and for the managers then to implement the policies that you set and be here day to day to take care of things. It's interesting that the very first city that adopted the manager plan was Stanton, Virginia in 1908. And I'm going to quote here from their old minutes from 1908, the reason they decided to hire a city manager was, quote, to attend to the business of the city and produce dividends for the taxpayer by keeping his taxes down to the minimum rate and giving him value received for every dollar he pays into the municipal treasury. And you just think about that today and you think, yeah, that pretty much still is why we hire city managers, isn't it?
Thanks, Kathy, and thank you. El Dorado's had a great tradition of very fine city managers, have been mentors to many of us and friends to a lot of us, so we're thanking you for your good judgment. But Herb and Kathy and I belong to this wonderful profession that allows you to help deliver democracy to people's doorsteps every day. And so it's a profession that we love. We wouldn't do anything else. We love what we do. We love serving you. Thank you for this. Thank you for this resolution.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if there's any questions, Herb wins.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is personal appearances, which I don't think we have any.
No, sir.
So we were ready for agenda item number 1, which is public comments. Is there anybody that'd like to come forward? Please state your name and address, if you would, please.
Good evening. My name is Matt Guthrie, 811 West Central. I just moved back to town about a 20-year absence, about 8 months ago. And I've got a situation that's come up with my neighbor that I think should be brought to the city's attention. About a month and a half ago, the house next to me, 831 West Central, is vacant. It's actually kind of a storage bin for the people that own the house. There's building supplies, whatnot. Nobody lives in the house. Basically mow once about a week and a half, 2 weeks, and then that's all they do. About 6 weeks ago, there is a commotion outside about midnight. There is a young lady out there behind if you go by the house, there's a garage out back behind the little brick fenced-in area. This young lady, probably about 18, 19 years old, chaining up 3 dogs back there. I go out, it's midnight, I ask her what she's doing. She says her parents own the house, and they are she's going to leave them there because she has no other place to put the dogs. Well, I called the police. I believe that they came out and took a look at it because I had no idea. I've never seen this girl before. At the call, I've run people off from trying to get into the house in the 8 months that I was there. So I didn't know this person from anybody. A couple weeks later, I talked to the parents. Yes, that's my daughter. The following week, I'm out of town in Maryland for work. I get a phone call at 9 o'clock in the morning, my wife frantic. One of these dogs had jumped the fence and hung themselves and was hanging on my side of the fence, and my wife found it. Gruesome. She did call the police. They did come out, took the dog away. I believe animal control was called. But with the rules that are set right now with the ordinance when it comes to animals, they own the house. Even though it's empty, they can leave these animals there. I don't believe that's right. I don't believe that an animal, especially even in this temperature, should be left unattended, chained up to a fence where a stray dog, any type of wild animal, anything can go and hurt this dog. The dog has randomly had food, randomly has water. My wife and my daughter have both gone out there and fed the dog, watered the dog. But again, the rules don't say that you have to live in the house where you're storing your animals. I don't feel like that rule should apply to any type of livestock or whatnot. But I do feel like domesticated animals should be left alone in an empty house, just left unattended. I've taken pictures as of an hour ago of the conditions Here is 4 copies of and horrible pictures of alcoholic drugs. Basically, in this area that the dog is at, it has no more space than what is in between these tables here. There is overgrown brush. There is building materials. You can see in the pictures, there's stacks of shingles that this dog rests on during the day. The ordinances that we have in place right now basically say that you can't mistreat. You can't, as long as it has water and food, it's not injured, it's not ill. But I think that the town that I grew up in, nobody does that. Town that I grew up in, you have a dog, you take care of it, it's a member of your family. I've got a 100-pound bulldog that sleeps in my bed with me. I mean, it's a member of the family. And I don't know the girl's situation. I don't know that it's even that I would do the same in her boat. But this dog, I guarantee this isn't the only incident that's going on in town with this. With the amount of empty houses that we have and that are owned by people that don't live there, I would be surprised if this was the only incident. I don't know what it would take to change the ordinance to comply with this, if that a domesticated animal can be kept in a house where it's unattended 24 hours a day. But I would like to see the city look at it and kind of review and see if there's a way that because the town that I grew up in, we didn't do that. 20 years later, now we have young people that don't have the same standards that my parents had, that your parents had, my grandparents. That this is what you do, and I would just like the city council to take a look at that and see what you can do to try to, as a person that lives next to this scenario, it's heartbreaking, and I'd just like to see what you guys could do. That's all I got.
Sir, you said that you and your wife have on occasion fed and watered the animals?
Well, yeah, the dog. There's one left. One died, and when we've had rainstorms for the last month or so. You go out there and the water bowl is full of water. The food's not edible. So we've had to, yes.
Herb, to me, that right there is ground, to me, if I understand the ordinance, is grounds to remove the animal.
And I want to talk to staff about it. I wonder, just off the top of my head, first, I thought you couldn't leave a dog chained for any length of time, that you can use it temporary, but it can't be a permanent fixture. And so I need to look at the rules. And then it would surprise me if that's an allowable use in an R1. Of course, that's commercial. It would surprise me if you could do it for zoning. Now, the thing that the police would know that, you'd have had to call someone else. You'd have to call Scott. And so, and you, of course, wouldn't know that.
Right.
And so what it tells me is we need to look at what we have to address the problem, if we have anything, and absolutely, if we can tell you what it takes to make it so you can't do it, that's what you want to do.
Look, I think that, first of all, I appreciate what you and your family are doing to help the dog. I agree that, where I grew up, and even today in our home, that there's no way that our dogs would be treated that way. But and we generally strongly advocate up here, especially in these hot temperatures during new business. You'll hear a lot of us from time to time say, be sure and watch your animals and everything with this heat. So I think it's an issue. I think it's something that needs to be remedied, and I'm hopeful that city staff can look at it and follow up in this specific situation. But I would like for us to see what it's going to take to make some changes in the future so that this kind of thing doesn't happen.
Right.
And maybe double check to see if there's something right now that can be done. Because if we're getting into heat like we did today, we might need to go ahead and remove that animal.
It's a beautiful dog, very nice dog. I mean, I love, when you go over there, like when I went over to take pictures, it was looking, hey, thanks for seeing me.
It just wants to see people at this point.
Right. And, and periodically they've taken the dog away. Over the weekend with the 4th of July, the dog was gone, which I would hope. I mean, with all the fireworks, and my dogs were going crazy. But it was I just felt that it's something I need to come up and talk to you guys about.
I appreciate it.
And thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you for coming down.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have anybody else that'd like to come forth on public comments?
I'm Mrs. Ralph Green, 1013 South Topeka. What I came to talk to you about tonight, I'm getting ready to remove my husband's ashes from Sunset Lawn Cemetery. I have asked, Ralph even asked years ago about fixing the streets out of the cemetery. Nothing's been done at all. I go out every morning, put his flag out. Every night before sunset, I take it down. And I have to drive on the grass most of the time. I've had 2 back surgeries to go out there and visit Ralph twice a day. Before I put a stone out there, I decided I'd just move it and all. If you guys isn't going to do anything to fix the streets, to make them, everyone complains about the streets, Walnut Valley the same, I'll just take his ashes and move them somewhere else. And so I just want to know if you plan on fixing the streets, doing anything at all before I move his ashes. Second thing, and everything, the fireworks. The last 11 nights has been holy hell on the south end of town. We've had loud booms where it shook my china cabinet. It goes until wee hours in the morning. The last time I heard it was at 2:18 this morning. We had a big boom. Someone was celebrating and everything. I got told today that if we had 100 police officers here in town over the last 10 days, they could not have stopped what was illegal here in town and all. Because I even got told out by the lake, they had some loud ones, and it was not from the lake. It was people out at Vantage area that was shooting them. But I just think we ought to do something about the illegal fireworks in town. And I called 3 times in the middle of the night. Yes, the police came down, put a stop to it that time, but it was right back again we went. Thank you.
Hey, Nancy, quick question. You've been here forever. How would you compare this year with past years? Was it more or less as far as the noise goes on?
Worse this year than I've ever heard of it.
Okay.
On my end of town and everything. One night it went until 3 o'clock in the morning. I did call. They came right out. They did, Mike. They came right out.
Yeah.
But someone told me over on Denver Street it was even worse. The other night I came back from Dillon's at 8:18 in the evening. When I came off at Taylor to go west onto London, I couldn't even go through the street. I had to turn around and go the other way. And when I backed up to make a U-turn to back up, because the fireworks was completely across the street, the man said to me, "Why don't you move your blank butt out of here? We want the street." And I said, "Sir, I didn't say anything to you." He said, "Well, you can find another way down to London."
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nancy.
Herb, we're going to get I know this summer we've talked about fixing the cemetery streets, right?
Yes, sir.
So that's still on the agenda, guys?
Public Works is working on doing something
I just want you working on it.
in-house with their own crews, so
Okay. When do you think that's going to happen?
we'll have to get back with Brad. But I know he's got a schedule for this summer, or it's in the works.
And so, I mean, we're in July, so next month or 2.
Okay.
And the summer will be over, so I think they're planning on doing it this summer. That's been all our discussions about it, Mayor.
August 1st.
Give us a little more time, Nancy, if you
Well,
would.
I'm going to give you a month, but before we lay the stone, as I told Curly Morris,
Mhm.
I'm not going to lay a stone if I'm going to reroute.
Yeah.
And his stone's about ready to go.
And these gentlemen here is assuring us it's going to be done this summer, is
Okay.
what they're saying.
But we'll see.
Okay. All right, is there anything else?
James Powell, 323 West Carr. I come before the City Council today to speak to you of leadership and example. I have the privilege of traveling this great state of ours almost on a daily basis. I work in politics, I work with politicians, and I get to see what happens in other towns. Recently, our chamber put on a very well-produced forum for state insurance commissioners. The city had one staff member there, and we were lucky enough to have the mayor there as a moderator. What we didn't have was the leadership of the rest of the city council or our city manager. I personally see throughout the state, the city council members show up to these events. It shows the community that they care, and it shows the community that it's something they should be out going to. I am very disappointed. This is El Dorado. We're the county seat. We need to lead by example when we have these events here. Also, a friend of mine and myself, we do a weekly podcast about the city of El Dorado. Some of it's good, some of it's bad. Some of the things that we've discovered is we're really lagging behind. If you go to other cities in the state that have events going on almost weekly, and people show up and they go out and we have a community, when are we going to get a community back? The Frontier Western Days is coming up, and that's great. But that's not going to bring our community together. So what we've devised is a plan, and we'd like to ask the city council if you would be on board to have an actual El Dorado Days, one day in the springtime, where we celebrate El Dorado. We have a fair, we have controlled fireworks at our beautiful football stadium, maybe with some music. But we bring back something like Prairie Port for one day to build this community. I love this community. I don't want to have to move out of this community, but there's nothing here for my children. There's nothing here for me. I don't drink, so I'm not going to the bars. What is there for us to do here? This is up to you, the city council, the leadership that we need. We need you guys to step up and lead by example. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, do we have anyone else for public comment? Okay, then we will close public comment at this point. And we're ready for agenda item number 2, which is the consent agenda. Did you guys see anything in that you question? I had a couple comments. Number one, we got all 45 pages, and I say thank you. I mean, that gave me a better picture of some stuff in there. Just a couple quick ones in here. I marked a bunch of them, but I don't want to spend all night on this. I noticed like at John K. Fisher, oil changes. We don't change our own oil.
No, sir.
So
We used to, and again, I'm going to work off of memory. When we did the math of what we paid for labor to change our own oil, we were only into it for about $300 an oil change, and so we went out for bids and we discovered, I think everyone figured it wasn't too hard to figure out, the private sector did it cheaper than us. Okay. And so we have bid it out. I think we're not even exclusive to John.
Yeah, and I think some departments do their own oil changes on their own vehicles. Others.
And it depends. And I think that in-house especially, we do a lot of our big stuff in-house because we're doing filters and lube and that kind of thing. But our vehicles go around
Quick lube.
Econo Lube does some, John K. does some, and then we buy a lot of vehicles from John K. and so they're going there also for morning.
like the dump trucks and stuff, do we do our own on those?
Mm-hmm. And I think now Brad's even doing the fire department.
Okay. I noticed under Prairie Trails Golf Course, they had petty cash advance for golf, and it says T. Anybody know what that was for? It's for $5,000.
There is a tournament that somebody runs, and we give them petty cash to work out of that day, and then that tournament pays it back. So we just get it back in our revenue.
$5,000. Okay.
And it also, part of it was probably for their checking account as well, because Prairie Trails has to pay beer vendors out of a checking account because they don't do accounts.
Yeah, you can't get a bill from a beer delivery person. You have to pay cash when the truck shows up.
Okay. 55 new golf carts, 150,000. I thought we was going to lease those. Did we end up buying those?
No, the vote was to purchase them.
Yeah, we voted to buy them.
Okay, so we bought them. Okay.
I think we came to you with the lease and you all decided that we were buying them, and Mayor, I think it was your idea.
Well, it was, but I thought we leased it. So
No, I think,
I thought I got outvoted on that.
I don't think so. I think you got it,
Okay.
I think you got it in.
All right. Then $300 Wichita Eagle for publication and printing. So we do some advertising in that
Yes.
paper for that. There was one in here that caught my eye. Out of the water fund, out of the water fund, we had, like when Marcy left, it showed brats or hamburger patties, items for Marcy, sliced cheese for Marcy, $188. That was all out of the water fund. And I guess that kind of hit me kind of different on, that's kind of a personnel thing coming out of the water fund. Now, I just,
Was that the one you did?
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
The water guys had a lunch for her, and that's why it came out of the water fund.
Okay. Intrust Card Center, this was under water fund too, I think. There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 trips, and it looks like it's to Tennessee. Looks like gas, 43, 52, 52, 56, 75. What trips did we have going to Tennessee?
I went there and got us some trees, and I don't know why it would have been taken out of the water fund, but
My guess is it got done wrong, because typically your stuff gets separated out over the departments that you're put in, and they probably didn't see it, so we just need to JE it back over.
So you went to Tennessee, Herb, to buy trees? Okay.
actually I went and got them free, so it was the best, that money for gas was the best money you ever spent.
How many trees did we get?
Dozen.
A dozen trees, okay. Did we have the papers on them?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The other thing, the refuge fund, Roll Off USA, had $22,976. Is that for a new roll-off or something? That's in a refuge.
We bought a bunch of new dumpsters.
That's what it is, because it said 15 yards, 15 yards, okay. That wasn't a roll-off then, that's what I was going to question.
Yeah, 15 yards would be a roll-off.
Yeah,
But I think,
Big dumpster.
yeah.
I think we bought a couple, because I think we have some holes in some of our old ones.
That's the only questions I had in there. Anybody else have any? Okay, I'd entertain a motion.
I move the consent agenda as presented be approved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Okay, agenda item number 3, public hearing for project 358, which is curb and gutter 300 North Atchison.
Yes, tonight you set the public hearing for Project 358. This was a replacement of the curb and gutter in the 300 block in North Atchison. It included some driveways as well. So we're asking you to hold the public hearing tonight and consider levying the assessments. The 300 block in North Atchison was a brick street, and we were able to keep that a brick street and improve the drainage and replace the curb and gutter as well as some driveways for the property owners.
Okay. Then we'll open the public hearing for any comments anybody has on this project. If not, we will close the public hearing. Is there any discussion on the commissioner side?
Ordinance number, please.
S 1332.
I move that ordinance number S 1332 and ordinance levying special assessments on certain property to pay the cost of internal improvements in the city of El Dorado, Kansas, as heretofore authorized by resolution number 2718 of the city, and providing for the collection of such special assessments, project number 358.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Were the people happy with the curb?
Yes, I believe so. It looks really nice if you all have driven down there. We do have some grass growing up in the bricks, but I think it looks pretty nice, and being able to preserve that old brick road, it looks nice in that
I grew
neighborhood.
up on the corner of 2nd and Atchison. I know my mother loved that street.
And one of the best things was being able to do this and get rid of that brick dip in 2nd Avenue and put an actual valley gut in there and kind of transition that out. I think it helped quite a bit.
I'll second that, and that is nice. Okay, we need a roll call on this.
Commissioner Badway,
Yes.
Commissioner Chapin,
Yes.
Mayor Frag,
Yes.
Commissioner Locke,
Yes.
and Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Ready for agenda item number 4, which is a public hearing for project number 386, which is sanitary sewer to serve middle school.
So, Mayor, this was a project to extend sanitary sewer service to the El Dorado Middle School. The total project cost came in at $136,505.23. All of that cost is carried by the benefit district, which is the middle school currently. However, part of their petition was if the land to the south ever did develop, they would share some of those costs as well. So, as it is now, the school district is paying the entire cost of that improvement district until something may or may not develop to the south, if it ever does.
Okay, we'll open this up for a public hearing for comments on this project. Anybody like to come forward on this? If not, we will close the public hearing. And is there anything on the commission side? I had a couple questions, and you kind of answered one of them.
Okay.
The legal description of whose property, is that all, that legal description was the north side of the road?
Yes, that is the entire USD 490 property out in that area.
How about on the south side of the road?
That's included in the petition that was filed with the deed.
Does the
And-
school own that too?
No, they do not.
Okay, so
It is owned by another
It's a private individual.
private individual.
Does the sanitary sewer, does this cover from where to where? You know, is this the main sewer coming out, or is this the sewer going up the road? Exactly where's the sewer coming?
It goes right about down the middle of the Brome Field on the south side of Wildcat Way.
Okay,
And then it ties into the north side of Banks Addition, Banks Wilhite Addition.
okay.
This sewer was the size to accommodate future growth. We did install a 12-inch sewer, but the majority of that is because of the middle school and their operations. But we did allow some growth, and in some of the improvements we've done along North Main in the past will accommodate this to continue growth further in that area as well.
Now, in the future, if that's developed, and this is a sewer line, we pay for that anyway, don't we? I mean, if it's the main, How are you going to decide who's going to pay what some days? What I'm questioning.
The way the petition is written, if the property to the south ever would develop or be platted at the time of platting to receive connection to that sewer line, they would be responsible for half of those costs.
Okay.
Because sewer's not free, right?
Sewer's
not.
Wastewater sewer is 100% carried by the benefit district, the improvement district.
Stormwater is carried by us, wastewater is carried by the benefit district.
And when a developer or someone wants to extend a line, if the city wants it bigger, the city pays those costs.
Okay, any other questions, guys? If not, we're ready for a roll call.
I need a motion.
Need a motion, okay. Who'd like to make a motion?
What was that?
S-1333.
Mr. Mayor, I move that ordinance number S1333, an ordinance levying special assessments on certain property, pay the costs of internal improvements in the city of El Dorado, Kansas, as heretofore authorized by resolution number 2691 of the city, and providing for the collection of such special assessments, project number 386.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion? Now we're ready for a roll call.
Commissioner Chapin?
Yes.
Mayor Fag?
Yes.
Commissioner Locke?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Badway?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries 5-0. We're ready for agenda item number 5, which is a public hearing for project 387 paving Wildcat Way.
Yes, Mayor. This as well was the paving of Wildcat Way, formerly known as 30th Street, for the construction of the El Dorado Middle School. Final project cost came in at $433,022.25. The city at large portion of that project is $146,403.89. That included the extra width near the intersection, the turning lanes, as well as storm sewer. And the improvement district cost, which was USD 490, cost came in at $286,618.36. This is similar to the sanitary sewer project as well. If the property to the south ever does plat or develop, they will be liable of half of the improvement district cost.
Okay, be happy to open that up for public hearing. Is there anybody like to speak to this project? If not, we will close the public hearing for project number 387, paving Wildcat Way. Does the commissioners have any questions?
What was the ordinance number on that one?
S-1334.
1334.
Uh-huh.
Mr. Mayor, I move that ordinance number S-1334, an ordinance levying special assessments on certain property to pay the cost of internal improvements in the city of El Dorado, Kansas, and heretofore authorized by resolution number 2692 of the city, and providing for the collection of such special assessments, project number 387.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? I was wanting to ask, there was a petition involved in this one too, wasn't there, Scott?
Yes, sir.
In that petition, the property on the south side of the road, is that in the city?
It is not.
Okay. That's my question. So,
The entire road right-of-way is within the city limits, however.
so what we did with this project followed our street policy?
Yes.
That's my question. Okay. All right. Anybody?
By mutual agreement.
By mutual agreement between who now?
The owner on the south.
Okay.
He said, okay.
I got you. It's
Yeah.
not in.
That's how it worked.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, we are ready for a motion. We got that, so we're ready for a roll call.
Mayor Fag,
Yes.
Commissioner Locke,
Yes.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Badway,
Yes.
Commissioner Chapin.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Okay, agenda item number 6, public hearing for project number 315, Industrial Park Rail Spur.
Yes, Mayor and Commissioners, this was a rail spur that was installed to serve Barton Solvents and BG Products in the industrial park. It's been done for quite a while, but the reason for these next two agenda items were we had to wait for grant closeouts. Both of this project, as well as you will see the road, water, and sewer, were awarded grants from the federal government, the EDA grants, and the state of Kansas and CDBG grants. Recently, in the spring, those grants were finally closed out, and we're ready to assess these projects. The rail spur specifically came in at a total cost of $1,097,626.68. Grant revenue for the rail spur was $871,249.86, leaving a balance to be assessed against BG Products and Barton Solvents. BG Products assessment was $79,231.89, and Barton Solvents assessment is $147,144.93. And those assessments were based on the percentage of storage of track. Barton Solvents is able to store more tank cars. They have the longer spur than BG. So when this project was petitioned and brought before the commission, that was a ratio of how we determined the assessment based on a percentage of usage or storage.
Okay, we are ready then to open up for public hearing on this project. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to come forward on Project 315, the Industrial Park Rail Spur? If not, public hearing closes. Is there anything from the commission side? Couple quick questions. I noticed Valmont was on here with no dollars. Is that just because they didn't have no storage? Or what?
It was on when the petition was first and the conceptual design was being done, it was discussed that Valmont might be interested in a section of spur, and that was included in the beginning when some conceptual designs were being thrown around, but chose not to be in the end.
So the city doesn't have any money in this?
The city does not.
Okay. So we don't really have a policy that covers anything like this. That was just the way we set that up, probably.
It was a petition requested by the owners of those two parcels requesting rail service.
Okay.
And the city is able to, as a public entity, own a rail spur and then sublease that out to industry.
If for some reason we had someone else in the industrial park that could use a rail, do they have to pay something? I mean, you know, let's say somebody else wants to come in, or do they have to go to BG or Barton and talk to them about that?
They'd more than likely use a Savage Rail Service rail yard south of town. BG and Barton's sites are secured off. They may be able to negotiate something with them, but that wasn't part of the project to have a public unloading, loading type
Okay.
function.
Is that what are you asking about a transload?
Well, that's their rail spur then,
And,
technically.
yeah, and so these spurs were designed to service BG and Barton.
Okay.
And the only way you'd get any additional use out of them is be if you extended them back to the west underneath the turnpike. I don't even know, can you get under it?
There wouldn't really be any room to go that way. there's possibilities in that industrial park area and other land around it to add additional spurs. This spur just wouldn't accommodate any more
And
users.
and in fact, we tried to put the switch on the west end with the vision of extending it further east. And so to get some utility like you're talking about. And it was something to do with grade, wasn't it? That they had, or that the railroad wanted a back end, didn't want a nose in.
And there was some concern about the crossing at Haverhill as well, and the length of time cars would be sitting there backing in. There's other options onto the east that made a little more sense in making this a longer spur.
I'd entertain a motion.
1335.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I move that ordinance number S1335, an ordinance levying special assessments on certain property to pay the cost of internal improvements in the city of El Dorado, Kansas, and heretofore authorized by ordinance number S1309 of the city and providing for the collection of such special assessments, project 315.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Locke,
Yes.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Badway,
Yes.
Commissioner Chapin,
Yes.
and Mayor Fag.
Yes. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, we're ready for agenda item number 7, which is public hearing for project 342, industrial park paving, water, and sewer improvements.
Yes, Mayor. This included all of the paving, water, and sewer improvements in the El Dorado Industrial Park, the new roads to serve BG Products and Barton Solvents, as well as a vacant parcel the city of El Dorado owns, and to accommodate any future needs Pioneer Balloon may have. The water portion of this, the assessments, let me hit on the final cost here first. I apologize. Total cost for the 3 improvements, paving, water, and sewer, came in at $1,597,057.69. We received grants in the amount of $702,680.44. So after that, we had a balance. Water, $53,662.64. Sewer, we had a remainder of $89,437.73. In paving, we had a balance of $751,276.89. For the water, those assessments were split between Barton Solvents and BG Products. The water was primarily meant for fire protection around those facilities. The sewer is split between 3 tracks, Barton Solvents, BG Products, and a track that the city of El Dorado owns. And the paving was split between Barton Solvents, BG Products, the city of El Dorado, and the city of El Dorado as well, caring for Pioneer Balloon if they do desire to expand or utilize that road in the future. It would be similar to what we spoke of earlier with the property south of the middle school, where they would be liable for an assessment in that amount to connect to that road.
Okay, we're ready to open for public hearing on this one. This is on project 342, industrial park paving, water, and sewer improvements. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to come forward and address this issue? If not, we will close public hearing. And is there any other commissioners that have any questions? Scott, that tract of land that we have, where is that exactly? Is it west of Pioneer?
It is. It's on the west side of that new road up there.
West and north.
Right adjacent to the billboard and the Kansas Oil Museum derrick that you've seen out there.
And then to the north.
And then to the north as well, that road does end in a cul-de-sac, and there's another 15 acres, I believe, to the north, and about 10 or 12 acres to the west.
So on the paving, we're paying half of that. The city at large is paying half of that.
Of the remainder, I mean, the big chunk of this project was EDA money and CDBG money.
Right.
We're paying a quarter and we're carrying another quarter with anticipation that if they do require expansion or need to tie onto that road, they would refund that money or pay a special
Not
assessment.
refund it. We're putting the money up front, and they would refund us. You're saying?
Right. Part of this grant was we had to benefit 3 industries, if I remember correctly, or 3 or 4. So one of them was Pioneer Balloon, and with the city of El Dorado being out of land available in our industrial park, this road gave us the ability to have 2 more lots available to market.
You know, as I drive down that road, there's a bunch of Johnson grass. I mean, there's some stuff we need to do out there. I don't think looks very good at all. That's my opinion when I drive around out there the other day. Does the county come in and take care of Johnson? We got Johnson grass all around town. I take you some other places. Is that our responsibility as a city, or is that the county's responsibility as a weed enforcement?
I have not asked them, but I guess my assumption is we pay taxes to the county of Butler. We live in the county of Butler. We're completely contained in the county of Butler. If there's a service that they provide outside our corporate limits, why wouldn't they provide it inside? So I'm happy to ask that question. I've noticed the same thing. I know that we do take care of a lot of our own Johnson grass. I think Kurt's not here now, but there's some kind of chemical you can spray on everything and it only kills Johnson grass, and so we own it and spray it. But I think, well, no, that the woman who came last week, I mean, we had it on that lot down south. So, I mean, I know we have Johnson grass.
We just need to get proactive on that because that's going to get worse. That's my opinion.
Yeah, there is a chemical that kills Johnson grass and broadleaf weeds, and we've been using that out south of town trying to get hold of it. We had a wet spring, and the Johnson grass is getting out of hand in a lot of areas now. We have had the county spray some, and we've sprayed some. So.
Okay, let's get after them because we need it. I was going to ask you out on that road too, Scott, easements like for oil pipelines. At one time I seen a map a long time ago that had easements all over that industrial park. Do we have any easements in our property that we own up there today?
No easements. The map you're probably referring to was with pipeline right-of-way, pipeline easements. A number of those have been vacated over the years. I believe there may only be 1 or 2 operational pipelines through the industrial park, and we were able to build around that quite well.
I didn't want to wake up some morning and have like the Greiler edition, is what I'm saying, and us going out and building roads and everything, and then having a problem with easements out there. So you're assuring me that there's no easement problems in that area?
There's an oil lease on that property for operation of, or its extraction of oil, but there's no defined easement or anything where they operate.
And to explore for oil requires a special use permit that comes before the city commission and the planning commission, and so they wanted to explore more, that have to ask. The existing wells are non-conforming uses that have been around 90 years probably, and I guess I don't see them shut. No, I can't say that. They drilled 2 or 3 in the last 10 years down on the south end of southwest corner of BG, and then the north.
Close to the fire station.
Close to the fire station. They put in 2 or 3 wells.
2.
Yeah. And so that was done with a special use permit and brought to the commission.
Who owns the landowners, the 8? Does the city own, do we get a check out of those oil?
We don't. All that ground, those minerals were severed a long, long time ago. There was 43, actually there was 40-some in the surface.
Surface owners.
And I don't even remember about the,
So they still own it then, is what you're
yeah,
saying?
we don't have any. We have,
When we bought,
all the minerals underneath the business park, and we actually only have leased below 800 feet or something. There's an old lease that covers 800 foot down or 1,000 foot down, and then we own the, if we wanted to put in some shallow wells, and probably could, you could do that. The city could.
okay. So when we bought all that ground, they kept the mineral rights. That's what you're telling me?
Yeah.
Okay. That's all I
And
need.
do you think that we actually bought that ground?
I think it was bought in 71 or 1970.
City bought it?
City bought it. Maybe it was 81. Either 71 or 81, it was bought by the city.
It was so hard to get, I just found that, I wondered if there wasn't, how they got it done. I wondered if it wasn't given to us, but if we bought it,
I think it was an auction.
Huh?
I think it was in an auction.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'm just wondering if we get any money off that.
No.
Questioning.
We don't get any money off of
Okay,
that.
all right. Any other questions, guys? I think we're ready for a motion on that one.
1336.
$13.36.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I move that ordinance number S 1336, an ordinance levying special assessments on certain property to pay the cost of internal improvements in the city of El Dorado, Kansas, as heretofore authorized by resolution number S 266, 267, and 2668 of the city, and providing for collection of such special assessments projects numbers 342A, 342B, and 342C.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Further discussion? Okay, we're ready for roll call.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Badway?
Yes.
Commissioner Chapin?
Yes.
Mayor Fag?
Yes.
And Commissioner Locke?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Okay, we're ready for agenda item number 8, amendment to Youth Commission bylaws. Hi, Jim.
Mr. Gardner?
Jim Gardner, 930 Fairway Court, El Dorado Youth Commissioner Advisor. Mayor and Commissioners, after going through 8 rounds of recruiting students to be on the Youth Commission, we have something I haven't seen before, and that we have more applicants than we have positions on the Youth Commission, which I think is great. One of the things that I have seen over the 8 years is that it's easy to recruit the kids when they're freshmen, and as they start going up the ladder to become seniors, we start seeing kids drop out because they want to be in some other activity. And so this year, due to the circumstance of kids dropping out and having more freshmen than we actually could use under the formula, even though we have 18 who apply, if we follow the bylaws the way they're written, we can only have 14 of these kids serve. And so there's a possibility that we could change the bylaws to allow 2 alternates to serve, They would be able to come to the meetings, participate in discussions, but not be voting members unless a voting member was absent. Then they would take their place. And this would not count against the quorum and would allow us, in most cases, to go ahead and have a meeting. Look back over last year, 17 meetings with the youth commissioners. There were 4 of those meetings when school activities interfered with things and kids were gone, so we didn't have quorums. Most of those cases, if we would have had 2 more, we would have had enough for a quorum and have a meeting. And so bring that to your attention to see what you might want to do with it, and answer any questions that you might have. Also, the other change would be that originally it was set up that there would be 3 members from each grade level and 4 at-large members. And again, that's pretty restrictive when you have a lot of freshmen who want to be on the youth commission and seniors and juniors start dropping out. So the 2 proposals basically try to take care of those 2 issues.
Well, I think it's a good idea, and first off, thank you for everything you do with those kids, because they're quite the crew. But I think it also, changing these bylaws will help with recommendations, because I know sometimes you send out asking for recommendations to possibly recruit, and I know I've looked at that list, and it's a little difficult when you're trying to find certain kids in certain classes.
Right.
And so by changing this, I think that'll help that tremendously as well. So
Recruiting is a difficult chore sometimes, and we've had occasions when we ended up with only 9 people actually participating. And this year we had 18 applicants. And also, from my experience serving on one of your advisory committees, we've had a number of occasions where we missed a quorum by 1 or 2. And if we'd had the same process there for alternates, we'd have been able to go ahead and have those meetings. So that's something that some of these other advisory committees might want to take a look at if it's acceptable to the commission.
Jim, being involved in the youth commission for as many years as I was, this I think will help a lot of the problems you and I suffered in the years back. Many a time we didn't have enough kids, and this sounds like the ticket. So, and there's a lot of absentee from different times. Different kids will be gone. So, I think this is a great deal to keep a large group still getting there. Because when we had the large group of kids meeting, we really had good discussions and things. And normally when we had the smaller meetings, we ended up talking about favorite foods and, such things like that really didn't matter. So I think it's a great thing. I think it's spot on what you need. And thank you for everything you've been doing for that, too.
Jim, I'd like to just echo what they said, just thanking you for the work that you've put in on the Youth Commission. I think it's great that we've got 18 applicants this year. I mean, that in itself speaks volumes, and so I think that these proposed changes to the bylaws are necessary so that we can kind of get everyone involved and keep them involved as they move through the grades in high school. So I'm in favor of the bylaws, both Article 1 and Article 2, the changes that you're making. I think it's great.
Jim, did the Youth Commission talk about this at all?
No, we kind of got caught the year end in June, and then the applications come in to present to you. So I've just talked to a few of them informally, but not at a meeting. But
okay, any other questions?
Mr. Gardner thinks this is what we ought to do. That's good enough for me.
Well, how about chasing me?
Huh?
Chasing me.
Where's it? Mr. Mayor, I move that the proposed amendments to the bylaws of the El Dorado Youth Commission as presented here within are approved.
Second.
Got a motion and second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thanks again, Mr. Carter.
Thought we were at roll call. Oh, never mind.
We don't have to do a roll call on that, do we?
No,
No.
Okay.
I didn't have my glasses on. I skipped to the next one. Yeah.
Okay, we're ready for agenda item number 9, which is municipal code amendment for parks.
Yes, sir, Mayor Kevin, you going to talk about that? I guess I can start it a little bit. We've had some problems that are, the scale has changed. I mean, there's always, I guess we always have problems with people using the park at night. I think you caught some swimmers this year. And so, I mean, I think that's probably normal, but the scale has been ratcheted up, and in prior years, the commission has talked about restricting the hours, and there was never there were more isolated problems in nature, and now they're almost daily. And so we're suggesting making some changes.
The changes before you this evening are to establish park hours between the hours of 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. that all these parks be closed to the public. There's really no need, other than possibly jogging through a bike path that travels through a park, to be in a park beyond those hours. And again, as Herb indicated, this is due to increases in vandalism and attempted break-ins at some of our facilities.
I mean, it makes
Yeah.
sense. Go ahead.
I was going to ask, so the only question that I would have on the park hours would be that if somebody was holding an event and got a permit for that event that went beyond those hours, then that would work with this ordinance. Okay. I mean, I agree. Other than some special event, 4 a.m. times in the parks.
If you want to hold Woodstock type event,
No.
that'll be right back to you. And so,
Talking to a group about a 24-hour softball tournament. So.
Better wrap it up by 11.
It's difficult to do, but hey.
well, or you may actually think about that and say, God, we'd love to do 24 hours, but we got to leave at 11 so you can sleep.
I don't want to sleep later.
Kevin, I was wondering, like, let's say a guy's riding a bike across Kansas, and he needs someplace to stay that night. So we're saying they can't stay in the parks. Is that what we're saying?
I'm going to say that those types of events would be pre-planned, and we would have some knowledge if Bike Across Kansas or some trek of that nature were coming through town, and those arrangements could be made. I believe law enforcement would still have discretion how to handle those on an individual case-by-case basis.
Or an individual that's riding across Kansas.
Right.
You're saying
I'm going to say
that would be their
my answer
discretion?
would be that law enforcement would have discretion as to how to handle those.
Okay.
And I think we don't allow it today, but the police can't write a ticket. And so the next piece, the bathing, it's clearly posted that you can't do it, but it's an enforcement issue, if
There's no teeth in the.
right, there's no teeth in it. But having just did BAK, that's not how, we didn't sleep in parks. Every city we stayed at, for the most part, they pay the school system or they get the school system free. It's always with the school system, and you sleep in their gym or you sleep on their facilities. And I think it was high schools, and so nothing like BAK is going to come and not tell us the race across America. It has passed through El Dorado before, and we always knew it was coming and talked about that. So to Kevin's point, if it's prearranged, if we know what it is, things like that can happen. But if your plan was to camp in parks in El Dorado, we wouldn't want that today. It's not allowed. Our zoning calls for camping in areas that are so designated, and there aren't any. If you want to camp in El Dorado, you need to go to the lake, or you need to go out east of town at
Deer Grove.
Yeah, Deer Grove. And so the expectation today is that you camp at a camp park where you can get a shower and wash your clothes or do those things that live-in require.
What happens, Kevin, if you went down there and there's a homeless person down there? What would the police do in that scenario?
I don't think I'm equipped to answer that question since I'm not a law enforcement officer. I can let Mr. Zeman answer that question, but
Yeah,
I don't have an answer for that question.
Yeah, I mean, if we kick them out of the park, they got to go somewhere. That's my question.
Right.
Good question.
Well, I mean, I can tell you what happens to people today that have problems.
What's that?
Yeah, they call the Ministerial Alliance. And the Ministerial Alliance usually, unless it's changed, puts them in a hotel and feeds them and
Well, any other questions for Kevin? Dave, Nick?
I mean, there's two things that we're discussing here really in this ordinance, and one of those is the hours of operation, or the hours that we're going to allow people to be in the parks, and the other one is bathing at our facilities.
Largely in our spray parks.
In the spray parks. Right.
Has that been a problem?
Yes. It has been a problem. It kind of is cyclical. We go through periods where it's not reported or seen, and then we go through periods where we hear about it frequently.
That's been a problem since the first
spray park, the first couple of weeks of Graham Park. I know I was dispatched down there a couple of times for people doing laundry in the spray park and bathing in the spray park. Those things, those detergents will affect the systems. In small quantities, obviously our systems can handle that, but over time, it does create a problem. So it does occur more often than you might believe.
Okay.
What's the ordinance? What would be an ordinance number, Tab?
G 1177.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number G 1177, an ordinance amending park hours and bathing regulations.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? I'm all for trying it, and if doesn't work, we can do something else.
Oh, and I think it's just, we threw out hours. We looked at other cities, and those hours seem to work, but you're exactly right, Mayor. You try it. If the community needs something else, you change it.
Yeah. Okay, we'll do a roll call.
Commissioner Badway,
Yes.
Commissioner Chapin,
Yes.
Mayor Fag,
Yes.
Commissioner Locke,
Yes.
and Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Okay, we are ready for agenda item number 10. Who would like to start that area tonight? That's new business discussion items.
I'll start real quick.
Okay.
I really don't have much. Just a reminder that this weekend, Saturday night at McDonald Stadium, this is Parents Weekend. It's all these Broncos kids' parents. A lot of them will be traveling to town. But Saturday night is Veterans Night at McDonald Stadium, so they'll be honoring all veterans that come to the baseball game Saturday night. It's been a fun season so far with the Broncos. They had a 16-inning game last night, which is just about 2 games in one. So, but if you get a chance to come down to McDonald Stadium this weekend and support the Broncos, Saturday night is Veterans Night, and they'll have all kinds of activities down there that night. So that's all I've got.
I've got a question for Chief Zeman, and you may have not had time, but I was curious after listening to Mrs. Green. because I live on the south end of town, and I actually thought the people observing the firework times was better this year than in the past. I was wondering if you'd had time to put if you had any statistics or numbers of calls you had this year as opposed to last
Yes, sir, I
year.
do. I actually had dispatch run a sheet of our calls on fireworks from June 27th, the time they started selling them, through July 5th. This year we had 31 fireworks complaints that we responded on. On 2 different occasions, it was basically the same calls, so in reality, you had like 29. Last year, 2013, for the same time period, we had 31 complaints, so about the same, maybe a tick lower. Compared to what it's been in the years past, that's way lower than, I mean, I can remember you go on that many calls in one night, and we're talking over about an 8-day period here. We got 31 total calls, so I think it was about the same as last year. It went down a little bit. It's kind of interesting that out of those 29 calls, half of them are within a half hour of or 35 minutes of the after 10 o'clock, like between 10 and 10:30, 10:35. A few of them are just a couple minutes after 10. So I think we did respond to one at, I think, 10:17 on the 5th, that we actually made contact and asked them to quit shooting them, and they did. So but that's kind of where we're at. Like I said, I don't think it's gotten any worse by any means.
I was just curious. Thank you.
Before
Before
you run off, go ahead.
It's not about this if you want to talk about fireworks.
I was going to ask, was there any injuries during that period of time?
None that I know of, but I don't have the record for
For
the
that.
hospital saw. The fire department, I think, may have had one firework-related incident. I believe it was
Grass.
a little grass fire that was out when they got there. So
Okay.
and it was in somebody's private residence, I think, out in their yard. So
Okay. Herb, what kind of revenue did we get off the firecracker stands?
20,000?
20,000.
Okay.
We had
And that's not sales tax.
No, that's just the permit.
where was the fourth?
There was one on Main Street. There were 2 on Central in the Pizza Hut area. And then there was one at Haverhill and Central.
I guess I just saw one out.
The one on-
They're right
the
across the
one
street
on-
from each other.
Yeah.
The high school band and then one across the street from it.
At the trading.
Yeah, it's a trading station.
Oh, okay.
I'd like to mention one more thing since Nick mentioned the 4th. You know what James Powell came up and talked about earlier as far as events in town, and yeah, that's something, James, that is near and dear to my heart too. I'm hopeful that we can get some work with our CVB and some other groups to get more activities in town. With that being said, our 4th of July celebration down at East Park this year, just to let everyone know, was very successful. There were tons of kids down there. It was a great day. I was down there the whole morning. Well, that's not true. I got in trouble by my daughter because I got there like 5 minutes after the turtle races. But other than that, we were there all day. Lots of activities. Had a good opportunity to visit with Jen Cook about some of the things that they're wanting to kind of add each year. I am absolutely thrilled that they're back down at East Park with those because it's a beautiful location. Lots and lots of shade and lots of space. So, each year I think the plan is to just keep growing it down there and add more and more. I think that the staff did a great job. They've always done a great job on the 4th of July celebration, and I'm hopeful that we can find a way to maybe expand it even more. So, don't think that any of your comments fell on deaf ears. I know that city's been trying to really come up with some stuff, and we've talked a lot about the 4th of July celebration too. But it was a great day. It was really beautiful weather for it, and it was great turnout down there. So I just want to thank city staff for the work that they put in, and thank all the citizens and residents that came out and enjoyed the day down at East Park. So that's the other new business that I had. I think I'm done this time.
I don't have any.
Okay. Dick, you got anything else?
I'm done.
Okay. I agree with what Commissioner Young said about, well, I had on my list here, the parks look very nice. So the guys that went out and got the mowing and stuff done, from what I seen, the parks I went by look very nice. I've had a lot of complaints on mosquitoes. Have we started spraying for mosquitoes yet?
This week.
This week? Okay. Out on the west end of town, I had some people that was really after that, so. Do they cover the whole town within a week's time or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
And just so you know, I had some pick me up in my garden the other day and carry me about 10 feet before it killed enough to fall back to earth.
Okay.
So, I mean, yes.
Okay, so it's happening this week.
Starting this week.
Okay. I got a letter that's in my packet on the REAP meeting on July 11th. Do we have anybody going to that? That's the one that has to do where they're talking about one of the creation and adoption of a new assessment structure for membership and a proposal of updating organizational and operating model for 2015 and beyond. That's at 8:30 in the morning, and I think I'd have trouble, but I'm thinking we need to probably be there because they was trying to raise our rates and was lowering it for some other cities around.
Correct.
I just think we ought to be proactive in that area.
And Kurt and I usually go, and so I'm sure it's on my calendar.
7-11.
Do you want me to tell them?
Why? Yeah. How do you guys feel about it? I mean,
Yeah,
they're going to raise.
You want me to
our rate.
recap it for everybody? Here's the short version.
That's what I want to hear.
In the past, we had two fees, one for REAP, and then they invented REAP water, and it was optional, and you could be REAP and REAP water. And so then we had two fees when we were in REAP water. Well, then probably 2 or 3 years ago, I asked the commission to drop REAP water because in the beginning, they were two unique organizations, and the past executive director folded water underneath his
And we were still paying
purview,
some fees.
and we were still paying two fees. So I asked the commission to drop the second one because first they did it without having any conversations and said they were working on it for 2 years, and Kurt and I had perfect attendance. I mean, the City of El Dorado had perfect attendance during this time period, and we didn't know anything about it until when they told us it was already done. And so that troubled me. And then, so they looked at the new due structure, and now what they've done is they've just almost doubled the old REAP fees so that everyone got the benefit of being in water. And so we're back paying a bunch again. And while, and I'll tell you that Derby also did what we did. Derby dropped water, and I'm not sure that wasn't a motivator. They saw cities dropping out of water after these actions they took, and so here was the solution. The benefit I think the city of El Dorado receives from being a member of REAP is almost exclusively that it gets together elected and appointed officials across South Central Kansas once a month. And there would be, well, my whole career, I've never had the benefit of that kind of organization around me. I didn't know, I'd know the city managers in other cities. I'd never know any of the elected officials in other cities, or very few. And there's never been an organization that got you together. And so that has a lot of value to me when you're thinking about, especially when you serve the same customers. It promotes dialogue that you wouldn't normally get, and you start that dialogue from a different perspective. When you don't know someone, you're apprehensive. When you know someone, you better know how to deal with them, and I think you've discovered that everybody, not everybody, but most everybody really wants to do the right thing. And so when you know someone, it's easier to get that done. So I still value REAP, but I sure don't like how they've done the water. And so I can't give you good advice, Mayor.
Well, I value REAP too. I've been in that transportation committee, and everything you said I agree with there. When they drew the lines on populations, we just got on the wrong side of that one line. And I guess if somehow we could be a little more proactive to get them to move that line, that's what I'd be trying to do if I could. But I don't know if we can or not, because...
Well, and I was always an advocate for a direct number.
Yeah.
And their apprehension about that, they're good for that with everyone except for A, the counties, and B, Wichita, because Wichita commands so much population that they'd be paying all of it. You know, we'd all pay a few $100s and they'd pay $100,000. And so historically, Wichita's been apprehensive about that. But if they just capped it, actually, if they capped it like y'all did on stormwater fees, you know, it's X amount a foot or an X amount of person up to $40,000 and call it good, or whatever that number is. But I'll be happy to advocate.
Okay. Last week I had a gentleman that gave me a petition that I had not seen. It was dated January 21, 2014, to whom it may concern, including Mike Fagg, Mayor of El Dorado, Nick Badway, Jason Huey, Management, Golf Trails Golf Course. Have you seen this?
I have.
I was wondering, has the golf committee reviewed this and, you know, their thoughts on this kind of thing?
They have, and I actually think it wasn't sent to me. I got my copy.
I gave it to you.
Yeah, you gave me a copy. I got mine from Nick, and I sent it to the golf committee, and they addressed it, and he asked Nick about it about 2 weeks ago, maybe.
Yeah.
And I had staff look at it again and write a report. I'm happy to forward it to the whole commission if you want to see it. We calculated what it cost to do what he asked. And again, in a nutshell, the opinion of our staff at Prairie Trails on a lot of it was that if you hit a ball out of bounds or out of the fairway, there's supposed to be a penalty for that. And if you mow it all like your front yard, there's no penalty for trying to hit hard and wild or being bad. I mean, there's a reason that everything is done the way it is. Also, if I remember right, it wasn't some of the things weren't accurate, but we've done a report, and it's gone to the golf people, and I don't guess I remember what they said other than that, though I think it's in this note.
Could I read this real quick? Do you guys care about that, Nick? The thing that catches me when I read this, I have to agree with what they got here. I don't know what the costs are, so I hadn't seen that. But there's 120 names on here, and there are a lot of guys that's played a lot of golf in El Dorado, and they're not professionals. But when you get on a municipal golf course, you don't want to hit it out in knee-high grass and then can't find your ball, and you lose a box of balls playing 9 holes. That's not a professional course out there. It's a municipal course.
Can I see it, Mike?
Sure. And
well, and I think, have you talked to any of those people who signed it?
No.
Yeah, you'd be interested to hear that feedback.
Well, they signed that.
Yeah.
Surely they read it.
No.
They didn't read it?
No. And in fact, if you read the report, we were told that the people on the back page the front page wasn't even attached, was just given the sheet to sign. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know, but that's what people who signed it told us.
Yeah.
And that there were signatures that it was easier to sign, so it went away.
Yeah.
So before you may want to know all the story before you get too excited.
I'd like to hear numbers before we
Okay.
publicize it.
All right, you've seen it then, Nick. Okay.
And I guess I don't know why you didn't get it, because they, if I remember right, did it get mailed to you, or did it?
No, it got
just-
handed to me, but I encouraged them to give it to everybody.
I was about to listen.
Don't just give it to me, give it to all of them, give it to everybody.
I just think that being a municipal course needs to be user-friendly. Yeah, you know, for an average golfer. That's my opinion.
If we can afford it.
For slow play, I mean, for all kind of reasons, so.
Well, I'm an awful golfer, and I guess I will say I never leave with less balls than I came with. Now, they're not going to be the ones I started with, but I never leave with less. And so, for what that's worth,
Yeah.
and maybe from higher altitude, we don't care. It's only about money.
Yeah. I just, 120 names caught my eye. And there's a lot of good people on that list.
You bet. And so that was my question too. And so we contacted all those people.
Can you maybe give a report back to us on what
Sure, I
the
can.
committee says and give us what their decision is and why, and give us
Sure.
some numbers on what it costs?
Sure.
Give us a reason why we're doing what we're doing.
Sure.
Okay.
Tab, just agenda that, and we'll get the Jasons here to talk about it.
Okay.
And I don't know who's the head of their committee anymore, do you?
I believe it's Dusty Davis.
I believe you're right.
Dusty is now.
Yeah.
The Community National Walmart deal, if you guys are happy with 6th and Main, I'd sure like to see a group get together. We need to do something out there. That just looks bad.
Have you started writing tickets out there yet?
You know, they've done some selective, I don't know if they've actually wrote any tickets, I can check.
Okay. We had, as I think you all knew, we filled in the hole, we re-signed it. The day we filled the hole, I went out to Walmart that night and someone had already cut across, and it's a mess now. And so the next thing I asked Kurt to do was start writing people tickets off truck route. And so we'll get and find out if that's been done. But Scott, Colin thought that they'd put a rock out there a long time ago, and Jim told him, or Jim put one out, and we told him you can't have a big rock there to deter trucks. But we could have put a ballard out there.
Maybe talk to the state. Something could be done though.
But our next step was, we wanted to do enforcement, and we don't want to do enforcement. We were going to do enforcement because apparently there's an opinion that those signs don't mean anything, and
Okay.
What's our off route fine?
it's $100. No court costs, all inclusive. It's just $100, and I think that's on Kurt's list that he's working on anyway. And so next month, you think, is when we're going to get him all that stuff. So next month, you're going to get a list of things that we're going to recommend changes for, and that's one of them.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, in addition to the Community National and the trucks there, I think all of us on occasion feel concerns from citizens about trucks off route on Main Street and on Central and throughout town. And I think that, the reality of it is that there's not enough teeth in the, $100 is apparently not enough of a deterrent to keep the trucks where they're supposed to be. So I'm glad you're reviewing that. I'm hopeful that it comes to us with some real teeth in it so that we can hopefully make a difference and make a change. We've also had the discussion about oversized loads and how do we deal with the state on oversized loads, because it's ridiculous when they bring those oversized loads right through Central and Main. So there's a lot of challenges we have with 2 state highways running through our town. But I agree, Mayor, that we've got to figure out how to address not only Community National, but just trucks off route in general and oversized loads that go through our town.
The other thing we could look at is making that intersection to where a truck can use it, because it's really not off the truck route, because this road is the truck. And I mean, obviously going to Village is an easier turn, but when you venture into a new town, do you know which is the easiest route to take?
How would you assume they can all read?
And once you're in the lane, though, you're kind of paying attention. So what I'm saying is it may be looking to modify that corner to accept the truck instead of penalize the truck for going in and buying some roasted chicken at Walmart, or using the parking lot to go to Burger King, or using the parking lot to go to the bank. There's other ways to look at that. There's 2 sides of that story.
Well, that road wasn't built for trucks. The road at Village was built for trucks.
Mm-hmm.
And so...
I'm just making a suggestion.
No, I know.
That's one fix to a problem that'll never go away. Because some truck's going to slip in there at some time when there isn't a police officer there, because we can't have police officers at every firework being shot off and every truck driving through town and everything else. So the other option is to modify the corner, which can be looked at, and whoever pays for it. That's going to be the second thing, which would be probably Walmart or because you got food service trucks delivering to Burger King, and I'm sure they don't want to go to Village and come backwards. But just a suggestion, something to think about.
I've already thought about it, Dave, and I agree with you. We need to modify the corner, in my opinion. So, sitting down with community now, would the state help us with that, Scott?
Like Herb mentioned, that road would really need some upgrades done to it. I know it has truck traffic on it now, but it was built as a residential, this road, when it was built for Community National Bank. Community National paid for that entire road. When Walmart came along, we added the right turn lane off of Central. Walmart paid for that. Signed no trucks at that time. I'm thinking it would be a significant cost to redo the radius there as well. And then they're still going to take whatever they get, and it wouldn't surprise me if they're jumping it anyway.
What you did at Central Main's better than nothing. I still think it's not going to work, but that's my opinion. But if we're happy with that, could we at least do that at that corner?
And ask Walmart to pay for it?
Huh?
And ask Walmart to pay for it? Or?
Well, ask Walmart and ask Community National. Just sit down with all 3 of them and say, we got a problem, and what do we do with this?
I think, yeah. And maybe in my opinion, Community National, bear the big burden in paying for that road in the first place. So I think if we looked at anything, it'd be the Walmart and maybe some of the other properties in the area.
Community National doesn't have any trucks that can't make that intersection. Community National did its job when it built.
Yeah.
They're a victim of Walmart trucks. And probably not Walmart trucks, probably trucks visiting Walmart who may not even be shopping.
Yeah.
Right.
Would be my guess. That they're sleeping.
So Walmart needs to be in the discussion.
I mean, I think if you want to build that intersection bigger, that Walmart has a responsibility. I don't think it's Community National.
Okay. Let's go tell Walmart that then.
Okay.
That's my opinion. So we just need it fixed. That's what I'm saying. That's all I have, guys.
So it's only illegal to be in the turning lane, but not on the street.
No, on the street.
So if you're on the street exiting Walmart, you're still
Off route.
off route.
That'd be my guess.
Are the signs on the street both directions?
Oh, I suspect not.
I don't know.
Okay. Well,
Can you see someone traveling west and not turning at Village and turning at,
I'm talking about leaving Walmart and just hitting that exit and being on that street that was not designed as an off-road, off-truck route. Is there signage there?
I think there is a sign there at the corner
you think there is?
of Walmart's access road and diagonal.
So you left the Walmart parking lot and headed north down that road, there's a sign.
I
that
think
says no
there
truck.
is. I'm not 100% positive, but I think there is, Commissioner.
And is there no trucks on the road entering? Not-
There's a whole series of signs down Central.
Okay, but on the road itself?
I don't know. I think if
There is one on the road itself.
Okay, the north-south road.
Yeah.
Okay.
You turn the corner and there's a sign there that says no trucks. And on Central, there's one that says no trucks,
no right trucks or
something.
Well, there's two ways to fix it. And see, there's lots of signs and lots of police,
And lots of tickets.
which,
Nobody wants to do.
right. Or modify the road to let them pull in. They probably realize to use the light to get out.
We got enough right of way there, Scott.
I don't know. I'll just have to look at it.
Okay.
I just want to look at it. I mean, if it's
Yep.
not doable, then,
Yep. We'll look at it and report back. And we'll talk to Walmart and report back unless someone thinks no.
yeah.
No, that's fine.
I think Walmart needs to be in discussion because it's an eyesore for them as well, community as well as for the community as a whole.
And I think, guys, we brought this up before, and I don't know where it's at, but Arthur Street needs a light, in my opinion, Arthur and Central, and Denver doesn't need any lights. So I don't know where we've talked or where we're at with that, but
We got awarded a grant from KDOT this spring to use their consultant to do engineering traffic studies at various locations in town. One of them we selected was Arthur and Orchard and Central, those two intersections there to evaluate those, as well as looking up at North by the new middle school as well, and McCollum and Main and that intersection. So that'll give us a lot of the primary work we need to see if a signal's warranted, if there's funding available from the state to help us put that signal up. So we're looking into it.
ask them about Denver too. There's a time they told us we didn't need lights at Denver. And that's with the
Right.
middle school there. So without that there now, I'd really say we don't need it. So it'd be interesting to see what they say. Well, it'd be interesting to see what they say.
Yeah, I think the only reason staff has kind of considered of leaving that up is the pedestrian crosswalk capability. Even with middle school not being there, there's quite a distance between Summit and Central to have a signalized crosswalk.
And I think if you don't care, I guess I'd suggest we wait till the middle school's future is set.
Right. That's
If they turn it to senior housing, which was discussed a year ago,
That might be, yeah.
I'm going to say they may want to cross the street. And so
Okay.
if we wait to that, maybe, because I think you're right. The state said you don't need it, but y'all talked about wanting to put it back at first, and we can't get the state to allow it to go back.
And Mayor, I'll say the state only recommends we probably have 2 signals in town, and that would be Haverhill and Central and 6th and Main. The rest of them don't meet the warrants. So,
Not even Central in Maine?
not that I remember. So, I mean, their methodology is looking at high traffic volumes, urban areas, larger urban areas, and the city of El Dorado just doesn't meet a lot of those warrants. But we're hopeful that something could happen on that section of Central between Summit and Oil Hill as far as signalization one, to give a break in traffic to allow turning movements off those side streets, and another would be pedestrians. And we just think there needs to be a break and some sort of signal along there somewhere. And the discussion will be, is it more warranted at Orchard or Arthur? So we're looking into that.
Okay.
Speaking of lights, what did we ever do at 6th and Havergal?
Doing it this summer, I think. Signal, right?
6th and Haverhill, yeah, we've got
A grant?
the grant, we've got all the funding. We have the specifications completed for all the signals and plans completed. We are going to negotiate with our signal, people who maintain a lot of our signal equipment on pricing. The biggest lag time on something like that is actually getting the equipment in hand, the poles. It takes quite a bit of time to get those manufactured and on site. They're just not usually a shelf item. So really we're at the point where Public Works and engineering need to get together, and we'll go ahead and place that order and then work on getting them in the ground.
And I think that we're going to install them like we're doing the road changes that we think are needed. Needs to be a bigger intersection. But we don't have the funding for that. So we want to get the signals up now, and you'll see them sitting back further from the road than normal, and that's why we don't want to have to buy new in 2 or 3 years whenever we can fund that intersection rebuild.
Sounds good.
Look for completion in the fall.
And I'm just trying to get a kind of a timeline on just how long that was. How long ago did we discuss that?
Maybe this spring, I want to say.
3 months ago, 4 months ago?
Something like that.
Okay. Oh, then that's done real well then.
What kind of timetable on Towanda Street are you thinking, Scott?
Going through some selection process right now for some consultants on that work. Hopeful we can get moving quickly and at least get utilities relocated and start some of that this fall.
So it's not going to happen this year then?
No.
Is it going to be done by this time next year?
Depends on and really how aggressive we want to be and how aggressive we want to tie the contractor. A lot of times when you do that, when you put a drop dead date on a project, price goes up. So we lean away from that a little bit, but definitely it's priority one. And
maybe to help scope it, if we get the engineering done this year, let's say even fall, we'll lend it as quick as we can, and I could see it'll be dependent on the winter. And then it'll depend too. We'll give them the number of days they have to do it, but part of it is going to be the consequence of starting in crummy weather. And then you're going to move traffic. Because I think our plan's to do half at a time. And
I think our plan would be to shut everything down, at least from Frederick to Towanda, and try to accommodate the few businesses in the home between that.
So you're going to move a lot of traffic, and you will be thanked for getting the work done, but people will be sad too. So get ready. But we're going to let it go as quick as we can.
And really, construction should move pretty quick.
Because we know who's going to bid on it. They're doing their calendar right now for next year, and if we're on the top of the list, they'll come here first. And I don't know why they wouldn't, because you could start with the base work. You can do a lot of work in the winter,
Right.
and then as soon as it warms up, be ready to pave. So it ought to be far along by now, Mayor.
Okay. Anything else, guys? Okay, city managers report.
And I wanted, Jennifer Cook is going to come up and talk about what we've been doing, marketing the community, and talk a little bit about, she's going to start by talking about the Kansas Sampler Festival. I know I've reported about it to y'all, but I thought you needed someone to be here to talk about it, understand it. If you don't want us to do it, it'll be a extreme amount of work. If you don't want us to do it, then obviously we won't. Jennifer's working on it now, and of course Susie worked on it a month ago or 2 months ago. And so they're both here to talk about that for you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We have done the preliminary application process, and we were chosen with Winfield to move on for the final application bid, which will be due at the end of August. So we're currently working on the final application. If you're not familiar with the Kansas Sampler, it represents what there is to see, do, hear, taste, buy, and learn in Kansas. And they want to preserve and sustain rural culture here in Kansas. They typically have around 150 communities participate. Started in 1990 in Inman, Kansas. It has been in Newton, Independence, Pratt, this past year Wamego, to name a few. They had about 12,000 in attendance this past year for Wamego, which was the biggest that they've ever had. So the festival continues to grow. As Mr. Malone said, it is a lot of work. We have to go around and ensure that we have a really strong volunteer base. A lot of the businesses are on board to help out. We are wanting to use East Park as our site, which Commissioner Young said, it's a beautiful park, lots of shade. I think it'd be a wonderful site. We have met with Anna at Butler Oil Museum. She is excited about the event. She's familiar with it from her past job. So she's excited to participate and allow us to use her grounds and to be open for the event, which I think is good for us. It's something that I don't believe Winfield has. I've met with Dr. Kroll, Sue Givens, Pastor Andrew from First United Methodist Church. I have support letters from all of them. Sue actually has sang in the past at a Kansas Sampler Festival, so she was really excited as well to bring it in to El Dorado. Susie Carson is on our Kansas Sampler Committee. She's went around and spoke with some businesses, BG, Freddy's, and Interest, and they've all said that they would like to be involved. We've been working with Becky Wolf, Susie, Josh Potter here for the city, Holly Ross with Main Street, and Brad Meyer with the city. We all get together, meet, and are putting together the final application. Like I said, is due in August. So once that application is in, we should have word by November if we were chosen or not.
And then when does it take place?
I'm sorry.
When does it take place?
If you do win the bid, you get it for 2 years. So Wamego will have it again. They had it this past year. They'll have it for 2015. So we won't actually host until 2016, 2017. So
What time of the year?
It's the first weekend of May. So pretty good.
Be a big deal.
It is a big deal. Kansas Sampler is a big event, a lot of representation, and a lot of publicity, too.
Is East Park big enough for that? Yeah.
We submitted East Park in our initial bid, and they enjoyed the site. And Josh Potter from engineering has actually mapped the size of the tents into East Park for us, so we can have a sample layout for our application. Jennifer Calloway from El Dorado Inc. has put together some mock marketing materials. None of those things are required for the festival bid, but we feel like whatever we can do to give ourselves a leg up, and everybody's been very supportive.
And having the museum on board and to use their grounds as well as giving us more space.
Be a big deal. Good job, guys. Yeah, I think absolutely pursue it as hard as we can.
And they set up tents or booths and
Everything Kansas. I mean, a variety of, Susie,
All the way down to the buns of your hamburger. It's supposed to be all Kansas product.
Holly, Ross, and I attended and manned the El Dorado booth this year at the festival. It literally is all things Kansas. And they do set up large tents. I believe the biggest tent is 40 by 100. Our tent was about, I think it was 30 by 30 that we were in this year. So they're very large tents. No 10 by 10 pop-ups out there.
Do we have parking room?
We do. We actually, in our preliminary application, we came up with a total of 595 parking spots with McDonald Stadium, community parking, Civic Center, Northeast Municipal Lot, and East Park itself.
The school district, Sue was very adamant about the fact that she'd be willing to bus attendees from any of the school parking lots down to the festival site, which actually would be nice for traffic control to be able to move people in and out quicker. So.
Great. I think it's a great opportunity. It's a great opportunity for the city. I'm very much in favor of you guys continuing to work on the application and also to come up with all those little extras that might be able to give us that leg up. So.
A few other things that I've been doing with CVB and marketing for the community. We've been working closely with Inc. and Main Street and the Chamber, doing some collaborative marketing for downtown businesses and trying to work together on advertising. Carson's been putting together a lot of material for a commercial possibly to help have the city of El Dorado basically the main focus, and then a couple of businesses to wrap around so that we can focus on El Dorado as a whole. Doing a city booth at the Women's Fair with some of our key businesses downtown that are unique to El Dorado. Susie Carson and I have also been working on the El Dorado Passport for the turnaround that's going to be coming to town here in September. The Frontier Western Celebration will be coming up, and we are going to do a fashion show that Friday evening prior to the concert so that we can have a presence in the celebration and get our name out there, considering that the turnaround will be happening and we'll have a lot of people in town and execs staying. So just working closely with all of those entities. And then just this past June with the soccer tournament that came, the 3v3 live tournament that came, we had 28 teams for that, and we thought that was a great event. We want to bring that back more. The AAU regional track meet, we had over 750 participants, so that was really big, and we want to keep that coming back every year, to name a few. Focusing on those recreational events.
And didn't you tell me that AAU's already asked to come back?
Yes, they really enjoyed the facility. I ended up giving a few small tours just of the grounds to a lot of the parents who loved it and didn't realize Butler had that nice of facilities to offer. So the coaches and the parents were really impressed with El Dorado.
The revenue that we generated from the 3v3 live tournament, we received an amount per team that we were able to register. We went ahead and put that money into the account that we put the Subway sponsorship into for rec programs, so that can just continue to be used by our rec department to help supplement youth sports in El Dorado.
Right.
Like the sound of that.
Yeah, I think that we've seen, with all the hard work that you guys have done, we've seen a lot more come to town over the last couple of years. And we've got great facilities. There's a lot of opportunities, both indoor at the rec center and then outdoor with our stadiums and baseball fields and softball fields. And with the travel that I do with girls softball with my daughter's team, I mean, and I visited with Herb and some of you guys about this, there's so many teams. There's such a need for those facilities to be able to host these events. So to be able to bring those youth sports to town, Linda Jolly did a assessment here 2 years ago for us that really kind of laid it out right in front of you that the youth sports generate substantially more revenue for the city than we do a craft fair, which are great things to do, but man, the opportunity to use our facilities for these youth sports is huge. And the AAU thing was great. There were a lot of participants.
There was a lot, more than double than what we anticipated actually, and from the year before.
And as you think about the normal mission as heads in beds, when you have a multi-day recreation event, you've accomplished that goal. Because you're sleeping in the hotels.
For the AAU meet, we were actually the only city in Kansas that expressed interest in hosting that meet. They have one in Kansas and one in Missouri, our region. And so for them to use us 2 years in a row and for no other city to want it seems crazy to me. And the fact that it was successful makes me think that it'll be back.
Good.
Well, I just want to thank you guys, especially I know in the past couple weeks and even past couple months, everyone putting forth an effort to kind of work together between the different organizations. I know that can be difficult with different leadership and different boards, but I know that means a lot to me, and I know the businesses and the folks in the community, you know. So Susie, the Chamber, and Main Street, and Inc., and you guys all kind of putting your heads together to make the most of it really means a lot, so keep up the good work with that.
I've had a lot of really good feedback, actually. I've had a lot of businesses tell me that they are noticing us out in the community and getting involved, so I think it's beneficial.
Jennifer, I got a couple things for you. Sitting here thinking, next year's 100 years of oil in El Dorado. When it was 50 years of oil, it was a big deal in town. I'm getting old because I remember that at grade school. So I don't know what we need to do. I think at your groups you need to be talking about that, you know, and seeing what we could wrap around on that, getting ready for next year. The other thing, I still think it's a good idea. The Stardust Motel offered their poles and frame for a sign.
Okay.
So if you're going down, you're going south on North Main, there's a big sign that used to be up there, just the poles and the frames up there. And I'm thinking we could put something very positive up there that wouldn't cost us anything other than the sign, and paint the poles and stuff up, and just a thought, you know, what comes in.
Good to know.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So,
That's the Stardust, you said?
yeah. I'm talking about the west side of the road right there where the restaurant used to be. That big sign sits up there with nothing on it.
Okay, we're talking about.
Now, I'm saying that's a heavy pole sign, but you could put a nice sign up there, and, you know, maybe something about the museums in town, because that is a highway that goes by there. So
Well-
being a highway, some way to get people to stop.
And I think I had one business tell me that he thought we should try to get some more information out to those who come to town to use the lake. That it's a big time of the year for us. We get a lot of people coming in. So
Yeah.
And I
we
think,
use it for a few different things.
aren't you having a garage sale?
Yes, August 9th, community-wide garage sale. I've made banners. It's on all social media, it's hanging up in multiple businesses. The Times will be putting something out in the paper for that. So August 9th, and hopefully now each year it will be the same time.
Good.
That was something else that Commissioner Young and I spoke about, was trying to keep events in the same location, the same time of the year, so that people realize and remember and don't forget that, oh, it's this weekend. Every year this is going on. I think that would be beneficial for making activities more productive, getting more citizens out.
Well, and being citywide and do a little advertising, we'll get people from out of town come here that will eat lunch
Well-
here, to pay sales tax here, so.
Considering that Rose Hill put their community-wide garage sale on our 360 page and our whole town thought it was time for a garage sale, I'm sure we could make something like that happen.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jim.
All
Thank
right, thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Or on this same subject, remember 7 years ago when we kind of brainstormed this whole idea, the little seed was laid, and how it's taken so many years to get to finally here. None of this commission was there, but you would not believe the thoughts and the ideas we had back then, and then the possibilities of the stadium coming and what can happen, and it's just kind of, it's interesting to me to watch it transition to where it is today, because if we would have asked to hear something like that, it would have been hard to find somebody to present it, except for, you know, different entities doing their one thing. So it's just nice that finally evolved to something to where it's really taken off nice and rolling forward.
And you've got youth that we don't react as quick as you do in your business. And because, like Dave said, 7 years ago,
but a lot of things had to fall in place, and
I think it's a lot like well, maybe not like a train exactly, but it's a big organization. You have 13,000 people that are giving you input, and once you start down a direction, it takes time and lots of talking to get that train to change directions. It's maybe a boat is a better analogy, but and so it does. It takes, you got to talk, and then you got to think, and then you got to talk, and it takes a lot of time. And I think generally you make less mistakes when you think and move slower than you move.
Well, it's not, I don't think we moved slow. It just took so, we needed things to happen for this to happen, and it all proceeded down the track, and man, we're finally there. So I'm just excited that my little child's finally grown up.
Well, the next thing I wanted to talk to you all about, I wanted Kevin to come and talk. We've had a group of people have expressed concern about smoking at youth rec events. I asked Kevin to take that to the rec commission, and he's here to report on what they said and what their suggestion is.
This is my 10th summer baseball and softball in El Dorado with the rec department, and each year we hear from a group of citizens that complain about smoking at youth activities. And I say baseball, softball, that also holds true for soccer and flag football as well. We currently don't allow it from our coaches in the dugouts or on the playing field. But more and more we're hearing more complaints from citizens about people smoking around the bleacher areas. We as a staff, as supervisors, when we get those complaints, we ask those individuals if they would please step back or refrain from smoking. We don't have any teeth in that other than a polite request. Some graciously do so, and some resist that. We have gone to the Recreation Advisory Board for their feedback, and they unanimously suggested that we ban smoking at all city-sponsored youth activities at all of our locations, and make that allowed in the parking lots only. They also are not opposed to enforcing that at McDonald's Stadium for users of that venue as well. Our programs use McDonald's Stadium, so it would apply, if you were to approve this down the road, it would apply to our youth programs that we have at McDonald's Stadium, but also for Bronco games and things of that nature.
So currently, is McDonald's Stadium not a not smoking facility?
The users request that people not smoke, but it
Well, I know when I'm announcing the games, I make that announcement that McDonald's Stadium is a non-smoking facility. So,
Well, and it's now, like when 490 uses it, I think that's actually state statute prohibits tobacco products at any.
KSHA.
Yeah, and so, when they come and use it, so if they wanted it, if a user wanted you to smoke, we wouldn't say anything today. So if you wanted to rent it and have a concert, we wouldn't say anything. It wouldn't be an issue for us.
So these rules would be set specific for the sporting the events themselves. So if there's a youth sporting event, then we ban smoking inside of the fenced-in area or whatever. They'd have to go outside of the fence to smoke.
Right. Currently at the activity center, that's an indoor facility, so they have to step outside. But at baseball, softball, soccer, flag football, all of our outdoor events, the request is to get it further away from the playing field.
And currently, you prohibit smoking at all enclosed facilities. So this building, it's banned, and the rec center, it's banned. But you didn't. the word enclosed was in your ordinance. If it hadn't been there, you wouldn't be hearing this conversation. We would have been enforcing it.
Right, but we're not talking about banning smoking in the parking lot or in the park itself, like when you go to East Park or something.
Just away from the playing fields and the bleacher areas.
So specifically outside of the fenced-in area.
Yeah, I think the easiest way is to designate the parking areas.
You just smoke in the parking lot.
Enforcement is still going to come down to our staff enforcing it, but currently we don't have anything to enforce it with other than a polite request. This at least gives us, if you choose to go down this road and approve this, gives us something that we can say it's prohibited.
I think it's a good idea.
And I'm guessing we'll sign it. If you approve it, we will put up signs. Is maybe a better way to craft that sentence.
Thanks, Kevin.
I think it's fine.
Anybody want to make the motion?
Is there a motion?
I'll move we adjourn.
Yeah.
No, there's a motion to help Kevin out here.
Oh, we're going to make a motion on the smoking thing.
That's what's on.
Adjourn.
I was with you.
I moved to modify the current smoking ordinance to reflect the recommendation of the El Dorado Parks and Recreation Advisory Board.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I've never been a fan of open air smoking bans, but if it's gonna be subject to, correct me if I'm wrong, it's gonna be subject to the people that, or the group or whatever that's having the sporting event, it's gonna be.
Except our youth events. I mean, that's...
And I agree with you. I am not a fan. I mean, I don't smoke anymore, but I'm not a fan of open-air smoking regulations. That being said, and that's why I guess I was trying to clarify that this is specific to the ball field during a youth sporting event. So, like, there's not a youth sporting event, someone's walking through the park down there, walking by the ball field, and they're smoking, it doesn't matter.
Right. It's our intent for an El Dorado, City of El Dorado recreation program event taking place. So someone that rents our facilities for a tournament,
It's on them.
discretion what they want to do. It's for our.
So adult softball and that, it'd be banned if it's a city.
Adult is the word.
We're looking for youth.
Youth, okay.
And what's going to happen is, if you approve this request, you have an ordinance, and so we will rewrite the ordinance that reflects the recommendation of the advisory board. And so, I think what I'm hearing is, if you sign your son or daughter up for recreation softball, and you smoke, you won't be able to smoke in the bleachers. But if the Broncos wanted to allow it, when you may,
Or if you're playing co-ed softball out there.
or if you're playing adult league softball, it's youth city events.
All right.
So you're okay.
I'll buy that.
Okay. Yeah, that's why I wanted to clarify that as well.
Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries 5-0.
I wanted to also report that we are working on the request that y'all made last time about the people selling stuff in parking lots. So far, we've found one vendor. We haven't figured out how to find them yet, if they're paying sales tax. But we also did check on last year's fireworks sales, and we find a great disparity in one company's two stands and the other stands. And so either everybody went to one company's, we want to understand it more. And so we're looking into it. And I can't remember who asked us to do that, but we're working on it. So We're working on it.
Dave? I move we adjourn.
Are you done?
Yes.
Okay.
And I had told y'all that I was going to put a exec on, but with Jim not here tonight, I'm going to put it off for 2 weeks. It's nothing earth shattering.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, folks, and have a good evening.